are many, many people to meet here at this air show, and one man in particular is someone we know from moon travel, really. The 10th man to ever walk on the moon, Charlie Duke. It's a real privilege to have you here with us. Tell us a little bit about your incredible career.
I started out at the U.S. Naval Academy, but back then you could go into the U.S. Air Force. So I fell in love with airplanes. I went to the Air Force, finished flights training in April of 1959, was assigned to Germany as a fighter squadron and spent 3 years in Germany. The Air Force sent me back to MIT to get a master's degree. And there I worked on the Apollo guidance and navigation system. Met some astronauts who were very, very excited about their job. I said, well, how did I get that job? They said, well, finish your degree, go to test pilot school, and you got a chance. So I followed their advice, and I got selected to test pilot school. And I finished in July 1965. September, I applied for the astronaut program.
But the journey for the astronaut program for yourself, I mean, you're the voice we know from the moon landing. We know that you were there in the command station talking to the astronauts as they landed, and then you got to sample it for yourself a few years later.
That's true. I was very fortunate. We had 9 missions to the moon, and I was involved in 5 of those missions. Only flew once, Apollo 16, but second greatest adventure was talking to Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin when they landed on the moon on Apollo 11. Very historic. And then 2.5 years later, I got to land on the moon with John Young, and we spent 3 days at the Descartes Highlands of the moon.
But that was where you came down on the moon itself, on the surface. Now you were also, if we go back to the Neil Armstrong Buzz Aldrin moment there, where you were talking, when you landed on the moon, did you have a memory of what it was like being on the other end down in NASA's HQ talking to the astronauts, or were you purely focused on your role at the time?
Of course, you had to focus on your role of making sure you made a good landing. But to be honest, the tension in mission control when they landed was greater than it was when I actually did it on the moon. And that's because when you really do it, you got a window, you're looking out, the dynamics of the vehicle, you're watching the instruments, all of those kind of things, and you're working your way down to the moon. Whereas in mission control, you're just looking at a screen and listening to these guys, and you get very tense about it. But on the moon, it wasn't that bad at all.
Now I've seen footage of you being on the moon, and I think it's quite iconic, that moment where you sort of almost fall on your face and you have to jump back up again. What is the overriding memory you have of your time from space travel and from your time on the moon as well?
Well, there are several. At the beginning of the flight, we left Earth orbit, and I looked out the window, and there, 30,000 kilometers away, was the whole circle of the Earth. And it was breathtakingly beautiful. It hung in the blackness of space. The next wonderful memory was the first time we came out. We went into orbit around the moon in dark. We came out to sunlight, and it was like boom. It was tremendous, the view of the moon up from 100 kilometers. And then probably the highlight of the whole mission, though, was the landing. Very dynamic. We had photographs of our landing spot that only gave us a 15-meter resolution. So there's a lot of problems in smaller rocks and craters. And so we had to be very careful about where we landed. But just every day there was something exciting, but probably the landing was the most dynamic.
Listen, Charlie, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure. All the best to you.